these reckonings are a long time coming. The hashtag #OscarsSoWhite campaign reached a crescendo in 2016, the same year America went through a political paroxysm steeped in racial animus. But Oscars So White grew out of a century's worth of absence, punctuated by lonely victories for such black stars as Hattie McDaniel, Sidney Poitier, and Halle Berry. The next year, the Harvey Weinstein scandal took out one of the Oscars' most contentious players and tarnished Hollywood's self-enshrined mythos. But it echoed back to Harry Cohn's Oscar-encircled casting couch at Columbia Pictures. In previous decades, Oscar wars were waged over different issues, but they were no less fraught. In the 30s, Hollywood's insurgent labor movement turned the Academy into public enemy number one, as workers boycotted the ceremony and nearly killed off the Oscars in their adolescence. In the 50s, the Academy bent to the paranoia of the House Un-American Activities Committee, forcing blacklisted screenwriters to hide behind false names, even as they won Oscars. In the late 60s, with the studio system crumbling and the generation gap wide open, the Oscars were besieged by young people with long hair and risque tastes, as movies like Easy Rider heralded the arrival of the new Hollywood. In the 90s, an indie uprising brought in a rambunctious new crowd, led by a man who turned Oscar campaigning into a blood sport when he wasn't doing far worse in the shadows. If there's a common thread running through the decades of Oscar wars, it's power. Who has it? Who's straining to keep it? Who's invading the Golden Citadel to snatch it? The Oscars are perpetually redrawing the bounds of the Hollywood establishment, pitting eminences against arrivistes, conventionalists against iconoclasts. As soon as the Academy Award was invented, people in Hollywood wanted it, because it created an organizing principle for power and prestige in a town whose hierarchy is always shifting beneath its denizens' feet. The statuette is a talisman that elicits powerful desires for attention, for recognition, for clout, driving its suitors toward folly or excess or desperation. Art isn't meant to be ranked like a sports team or scored like a tennis match, but human nature drives us toward gamesmanship. We like watching people win or lose, and if given the chance, we want to win. I started watching the Academy Awards in the early 90s, when Billy Crystal was the regular host and began each ceremony with a zingy comic medley. And not an ounce of smut, it ain't called Howard's Butt, they call it Howard's End, he crooned in 1993 to the tune of Hooray for Hollywood. I hadn't seen any of the Best Picture nominees, but to my adolescent brain it was the height of comedy, the Olympus of schmaltz. As an adult, I organized office Oscar pools and memorized acceptance speeches. In 2016, as a writer at The New Yorker, I covered the Academy's tumultuous year in the wake of Oscars So White. Led by its first black president, Cheryl Boone Isaacs, and its CEO, Dawn Hudson, the Academy was under fire for an initiative to recruit new, diverse members and demote others who had been inactive in the industry to emeritus status, a plan that had old-timers looking at their IMDb pages and panicking. The issue had cracked open Hollywood's fault lines of age and ideology. But, as I soon learned, it had all happened before. In 1970, the same year Midnight Cowboy became the first X-rated movie to win Best Picture, Academy President Gregory Peck had launched a similar plan to yank the membership into the present, and it also received rafts of angry letters. Now, some of the hip young talents of the new Hollywood were seasoned pros writing incensed op-eds in The Hollywood Reporter, howling against their perceived obsolescence. In February 2017, I went to the Oscars for the first time. Sitting in the press room at the Loews Hollywood Hotel, where dozens of journalists from around the world sat at long tables, I watched the show on a monitor. Occasionally, the newly minted winners were shown in to answer questions. In the back of the room was a reference table where Academy librarians sat with thick binders. Toward the end of the night, the energy in the room flagged as we lurched toward an inevitable Best Picture win for La La Land. When Faye Dunaway announced it as the winner, the reporters applauded warmly and wrapped up their stories. Then all hell broke loose. On screen, a La La Land producer.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.